From Ticker, you're watching She's the Boss. Here's Jules Brooke.
Hi and welcome to She's the Boss, which is the show all about amazing women, what they're doing in business and how they're achieving it. Now, firstly, I have to say I'm really excited about my guest today, and I think you will be too, because we should have a bit of a laugh when we've got two comedians on the set. We're also on this brand new set, so it's all awesome, and we've got some bubbles to celebrate. Cheers, girls.
You had your bubbles.
Let me introduce Bev Killick, who is a professional comedian and actor, and Joanne Brookfield, who is also a professional comedian, and she's an author amongst many other things. So welcome to the show, girls.
Thanks for having us.
So with what's happening at the moment with coronavirus and all the rest of it, there's two reasons why I thought this would be great to have you on the show. One is let's have a bit of a laugh because everyone is really down in the dumps at the moment. But secondly, the arts and hospitality are two sectors where people are really freaking out about what's happening at the moment. So towards the end of the show, I thought we might talk about the sorts of ideas you might be having and things that we might be able to suggest to people that they could do if they're in the arts. But first, Bev, let me start with you. God, I love you. All right, so
I love your story.
Can you tell me, how did you end up as a professional comedian? There's heaps of people want to do it, not lots that end up professional.
I was working away in hospitality.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was working in silver service,
Right.
which paid exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Because you had to have the skills.
Yeah. The posh people.
For the posh people. And there was a, I don't know if you know about this, but there's a real lunchtime vibe in the city where a lot of businesses go to,
the smart restaurant. Yeah, I used to do
five
that when I was in
star.
advertising, and you've got a place that you're like, well, let's go to Donovan's or...
So there was a place in the city and I was the
What's
silver
it
service.
called? Right.
I can't even remember it.
Okay.
But anyway, about 3 staff members didn't come in.
And how old are you at this stage?
I am
In your 20s?
29.
Right, okay. Oh gosh, so this isn't something that you did from 18 or anything?
Oh yeah, this is way back. But
Right,
this
okay.
is how I got into stand-up. This is the day
Okay.
that I want to share with you. So I got into work and 3 other staff members have not shown up. And I'm the only one on the floor of 100 guests.
Oh my giddy aunt.
The boss wouldn't help me. So, and I'm talking, bread rolls like this, right?
Okay, could you pour my wine for me thing?
I'm running around like an idiot. And I've asked the boss, can you help? And they were just sort of laughing at me, you'll be right, sort of thing. I went, no, I'm not actually. So I just thought, why am I doing this? What am I doing here? Is this my life?
Right.
Really, has it come to this? Am I a slave?
So...
I went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Took my apron and my uniform, which included a tie, off, put my runners on and my shorts.
Yep.
And I left without them even realising that I'd gone.
Oh, sneaky. I kind of love that story. You're so naughty.
I am so naughty.
But how do you go from being a waitress to doing stand-up?
Because on the tram on the way home, they were in the paper, there was an advertisement that said, so you want to be a stand-up comedian?
No. And it just hit you between the eyes?
And it just hit
That's
me
what you
between the
wanted to do?
eyes, and I went, yes, I do actually.
That's
so I
amazing.
answered, I pretty much, but this, my life's crazy, you know that.
I do.
So I pretty much went from that
Waitressing to standing on a
stand-up,
stage.
and I refused to have a day job.
Right.
So I went from that to that, and refused to go back.
And it became your sole source of
That's
income
right.
straight away.
Well,
and how do you ramp
I was
it up?
I was a sole parent at the time.
Yeah. So
even
there's-
more madness.
Yeah, but also I think there's a drive that comes when you're a sole parent
There's a
that
drive.
says, I can't fail. Like
That's
I literally
right.
cannot fail, so I've got to make this work.
That's right. And I started thinking, I'm very much a consequential thinker.
Right.
I do think I'm very spontaneous.
After you've acted.
But I'm very...
That's what consequential means.
Yeah. I'm very, in the moment, I'm very spontaneous, but I'm also very, I think about consequences.
Right.
And I thought, I'm not going to work for anyone
Right.
other than myself anymore.
Brilliant.
So I became a stand-up, and
Yep.
I've been a stand-up ever since.
No, you can't just jump that bit, and I will get to you in a second.
Okay,
but
sure.
you can't go, and I decided I'd do it, and then I've been one ever since. Can you just tell me literally nuts and bolts very, very quickly, because we'll talk about it a bit more in the second bit.
I went and signed up at the Star and Garter.
Right.
Which was
so you went to a venue?
I went to a
and said,
venue.
Let me do it.
Let me do it.
Far out.
And I gave myself 2 months
Right.
to learn, and so I went and watched as much as I could, and went, yeah, I can do this.
Right.
I've been an actor before. I've been a clown. I've been a stilt walker. I've been
And a waitress.
I love being in front of crowds.
Yep.
So I did it, and I got up, and I was supposed to do 5 minutes, and I did 17.
And did they ask you back then?
Yes,
the
I
next
did.
week,
The next
and that was
night.
it?
The next night.
The next night.
For the pro night. So I went from open micer to the pro night within one night. Without any in between.
Fear. That's the word I was looking
Without
for.
fear.
Because I actually do know 2 PR professional women at the moment who've decided they want to do it on the side. So I think it's a thing that people are doing it. But I don't know that anyone would like go, right, all the eggs in one basket, I'm going to make it work.
I just did.
That is amazing.
Yeah, but I was also living with a lot of performers
Right.
at the time.
So you had
I
that
had,
sort of
I had a
incentive.
lot of incentive, but also a lot of material.
And yes.
Loads.
All
of
right,
material.
now hold that thought, because after I do want to know the whole journey, because I know that it's
Okay.
interesting to know how people can actually do it. Because if there are people watching who are kind of interested in having a career in the arts, it's really inspiring to speak to people that have actually done it and are doing it.
Well, also the inspiration of being like back then, a woman in that game was very.
You were 2%.
It was very limiting.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Plus being a sole parent, so there's those things to talk
And
about.
that
as well.
actually brings me perfectly to you, Joanne, because I saw, or I went to the launch of your book, and you were talking about how, and your book is about female comedians. Show everyone, no apologies. So in the book, you talk a lot about how in the olden days there were just never any women and how hard it was to get cut through. But I've jumped ahead of myself again. Firstly, tell us what you do and why you do it.
Well, I guess people call me a slashy. I've had that word used of
You're
me.
the first slashy I've had on the
I
show.
love that.
What are you a slashy between what
So
and what?
I guess my day job is I'm a journalist.
Right.
This is my first book.
So just wind back a bit, what sort of a journalist? Are you
I'm
writing for a particular...
Yes, I'm a print journalist, and
Yeah.
I write mainly for The Age, but also different magazines
Okay.
and newspapers.
You're a
and
handy
that
woman
kind of
to know.
thing. So there's that.
And you write about the arts?
Yes, that's how I sort of started in journalism back in the
Right.
day, was with actually Beat magazine, and I was, sort of
Right.
covering the comedy scene and obviously all the other live arts, music and theatre and
Wow, I
circus
cannot believe you went
and all
from
the rest of it.
journalism to stand-up, so I want to hear that story. How did
So
that happen?
yeah, so I guess my story's kind of similar to Bev's in that I was already sort of in the world.
Yeah.
That I was reporting on comedy, and therefore I was at comedy gigs and interviewing comedians and spending time with comedians, and I had sort of this little secret dream of mine from when I was a teenager that I wanted to be a stand-up. But like we were just saying before, that women aren't always encouraged to go out there and be daring and on stage and all the rest of it. And I came from a relatively conservative family in that context.
Which
who
makes
are-
it hard. I mean, I know
Yeah.
at one stage I wanted to get into acting at school, and my parents just went, have it as a hobby, go and get a
Yeah,
job.
exactly.
And I
It is
just
sort of
haven't
as a
listened.
hobby, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because those of you that don't listen, I think you've got to really follow your passion, but there are those of us who get swayed along
That's
the way.
nice, dear. Now be a secretary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of idea. So I guess I went and got my journalism degree and was, still, I guess, because I've always wanted to be a journalist as well. So
Right.
it's not like I had several things I wanted to do in my life, but within my journalism, it allowed me to sort of gravitate towards the arts, towards performance. And I just got to a point where I just went, I just want to know if I can do it. Like you just sort of sit in the audience like, I reckon I could do this. I would love to do
just
this.
never
Joanne
sat
has
in
had
the
some
audience
great
and thought that.
show ideas too, and titles. And what was the one about the dog?
Oh,
Yeah, tell us.
Princess Pissy Pants, the greedy cheese-eating bitch, and other naughty dog tales.
Say that slower, I didn't catch all of it.
Princess Pissy Pants, the greedy cheese-eating bitch, and other naughty dog tales.
Oh, you are good, aren't you? That'd be the journalism. If you write articles with those sorts of titles as well.
I can write some copy.
Get more ink.
So that's basically my story in a nutshell. But it took me a long time from realising that I wanted to be a comedian to actually finding that I sort of don't have that kind of that's it, apron off, I'm
not
out
a
of
lot of
here
people do.
kind of moment. But it was just that desire that just kept resurfacing,
So how did
and
the
eventually I couldn't ignore that.
So how did the first gig happen?
Well, you start by going to gigs, and then you start by sort of telling people, I think I might try stand-up. And then people are like, oh yeah, you'd be great at that.
Yeah.
You should do that.
You're
and
really
then
funny.
And then you get a little bit more confidence, and then you start talking to people in comedy going, oh, I'm thinking about doing a gig. And if there's one thing, I write about this in the book, if there's one thing people in comedy love, it is getting other people on stage to do their first gig. And
Right,
I wasn't
right.
entirely aware of that. My naivety, I guess, kind of worked for me back then. And I was like, right, well, I'm running a room, you can have a gig, we're doing this kind of, it was called Purge Night.
Right.
It was great.
Is that
It was
like
great.
open mic as well?
Well, it was
So
an
you were
open.
sort of-
back then it was, the idea was it was all the material you couldn't do in real life. So
Yeah.
it was a chance to sort of, for comedians to
So
kind
who
of...
was the audience?
Because way
The
back,
audience was other
way back,
comedians?
we were told that we weren't allowed to do
Predominantly.
any material relating to, menstruation. We were,
Oh,
we
yeah,
were
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much told, weren't we?
A lot of
We were
things, I'm
told to
sure.
stay away from
Right.
that subject.
Because it's not
So-
funny, ladies, and it will
Oh
make
no.
men feel
And women only do
uncomfortable.
period jokes, don't you know that? Yeah.
So,
Look, yeah, go on.
yeah, so it was basically I just, put my name in the hat and wrote my material, obviously in the week leading up to the gig and
this-
did
it
it.
is so-
and
I'm really-
It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Wow.
But-
Terrifying but exhilarating.
Exactly.
All right, now-
But it's not until you've done it. It's not exhilarating until afterwards.
like
but
doing
it's
bungee
just
jumping.
Yeah.
terrifying
Yeah,
until.
terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like jumping out of a plane. I've always said it's a bit like that.
Yeah, okay, so hold on, because after the break, I'm going to get you to tell us a little bit about some of the stories you've had along the way, which I'm sure are very
Okay.
funny. First, though, I just love it that you turned up with a sparkly top. I am so excited by this sparkly top, and I've asked the designer who made it, who's called Diane Corvino, went
Amazing.
into this store which is called Hear Us Roar, and it's all about helping curvy women, real women, find decent clothes that you can wear. So I've asked them to do a little video. We're just going to show that first, then we'll have a break, and then we're going to come back to these two awesome women and find out how they actually made the journey to create it into a business.
Hi everyone, Karina Bruce here, one of the co-founders of Blaze McCann of Hear Us Roar. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about one of our favourite designers from Australia that I have with me today, Diane Corvino. Di, thanks so much for sharing a little bit about your collection with us. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to create such beautiful, gorgeous, colourful prints?
Hello Karina, we focus on colourful prints and sequins. Our inspiration is to make women feel glamorous.
Glamorous and beautiful, and that's certainly what Hear Us Roar is all about as well, sizes 12 to 26. And one of the things I love about Diane's collection is she specialises in sequins. And as she mentioned, colourful prints. So Jules has her beautiful blue sequin jacket on today. So that is online at hearusroar.com.au. So please feel free to jump on board and have a look at that. And Di, thank you so much. We've got two new prints here that we've literally just put on this morning. I've been so excited to have these prints. Do you have names of these prints?
This is our orange and red roses print and our white and multicolour print.
Yeah, they are absolutely beautiful and they're so comfortable to wear.
Yeah, they are. They're
Lots of
now
stretch.
coming in a midi long length. So we do have knee length printed skirts and the midi long as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much and enjoy the show.
From Ticker, you're watching She's the Boss. Here's Jules Brooke.
Hi and welcome back to She's the Boss. I am absolutely stoked to have these two amazing women with me here today, Bev Killick and Joanne Brookfield. Now Joanne, I know that you've worked sort of in a broader sense in the industry as well as a stand-up, so I'd really love you to talk to me a little bit about how the industry works, what you've learned along the way, because I know you've done some stints as a full-time comedian, some stints as a full-time journalist. I imagine that book didn't get written by itself, so there must have been some time allocated to that as well. Yes, the book again.
Bev's in the book. Bev's in the book.
I think over there.
Oh,
All right, so Joanne, tell me a little bit about your journey.
I guess one of the things, because obviously you talk about business and women in business, and one of the things I suppose is that comedy is a business.
It is a
like when
business,
you charge money, when you do a festival and you charge money for tickets, you sort of need to know that kind of business side of it. And I suppose the
You've
art,
still got to have an ABN, and you've still got to invoice people and pay
all
tax
that kind
and all
of
that kind
stuff. And when we're promoting
stuff.
shows, we still
Yep.
need to be dealing
Marketing,
with contracts and insurance and all those kinds of things. But the arts is great because I guess it allows you to sort of shift between different, I guess, sectors within that sector. So you can be a promoter or a producer, you can be a publicist, you can be a journalist, you can be a performer, you can write behind the scenes. So you can sort of shift depending on what your life circumstances are or what your interests are.
nice.
And in that sense, I suppose, be able to eke out a living, or you can just opt to go flat out,
And I guess
full-time
one
with one
point we
of them.
should make is not everybody becomes a wildly successful, millionaire as a result of working in the arts. There's a lot of struggling people as well.
Absolutely.
And I know that you would think if you read magazines that everybody is earning 500,000 plus a year, but they're not. So I loved the fact that you said eke out a living, because for a lot of people that is a very real part of their lives. And we're going to talk about how coronavirus might be affecting that a bit later. But keep going. Yeah.
So I guess so I was sort of a freelance journalist, so that also enables me to perform, and because obviously you follow festivals around the country and around the world when
so
you're
you
into
were like
comedy.
writing and performing at the
Yeah.
same festival. Were you able to do your own reviews?
No,
That'd be fabulous.
I actually stopped reviewing when I started performing because I just
this
kind of
is
went,
such a
that's
great
just too. But I continue to report about comedy, so that's sort of my journalism enabled me to sort of follow it
And
around,
travel.
go to Edinburgh
Yeah,
and
which is
Montreal for Just for Laughs and different places like that. So it's sort of I found a way to make it kind of work in that sense. And then obviously I got the opportunity to write the book, and it just made sense to bring, I guess, my two worlds together. So it's a non-fiction book with interviews with like 60 women, including Bev, all kinds of
I would actually
women
say
in comedy.
any women out there that are interested in stand-up, and I know there are people who may not be looking at it as a full-time job, and they might be looking at it as a bit of a side hustle or something that they'd love to do sort of on the side. Get that book, because it really it's written. But how many female comedians do you have in there? It's about 20
There's
or
60
something.
that I've interviewed.
60. So you get the perspective of a hell of a lot of female comedians about how they've made it work and how they've got their big break.
And I was very deliberate too about, because one thing that's fantastic about comedy, and I guess Bev can speak some more to this in a moment, that comedians often mine their own lives for their material.
And their friends' lives.
So, yes. So, have you appeared in her material?
I don't
have
think
you?
so. I don't just la 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 la. Don't want to know.
But what it means is that you've got, my book, I was trying to represent the full spectrum of who is performing in comedy and telling their stories.
Right.
So I've got women from all different age groups, all different backgrounds, women who live in the city, women who live in regional areas, women who moved overseas, queer women,
Oh, great.
trans women, women of colour, because all of these people are out there in comedy, and they're
Well, that's
all
right,
telling
yeah.
their stories and reflecting their life experiences back, and our audiences want to see
Well, the audience are diverse, and there's a lot of lip service given to diversity really in business. But diversity isn't just male and female, and a lot of
That's
people
right.
forget that. In fact, I was talking with a great woman, Catherine Nyo, who has set up a keynote kind of service for people in diversity, and I went to her saying, what about female speakers? And she's like, no, but we've got disabled, we've got people of colour, we've got all sort, there are so many people. I mean, think of Steady Eddie and all that. It's a very embracing kind of career, I think.
The wonderful thing about Joanne, from my angle as well, is that she already did embrace that before those words were all
Trendy.
buzzing. Joanne has always
Yeah.
been that person. She's always been very inclusive.
Well, I used to run rooms, so
Yeah.
and I'd
Hang on,
always
what's running a
well
room
certainly
mean
from
for
a
those of us that aren't in the
producing
industry?
a room for
What's-
so
comedians
running
to
a
come.
room basically means that you find a space, and then you find the acts to perform at your show, and then you do the
So
marketing,
is that how
the
comedy
publicity.
often works? That you take you rent a space like a
Yeah.
stage, and then
Yeah.
you
I've
fill
done
it with your
I've done it many
audience.
times.
It's actually very common for comedians to
Right.
do that. It's a way
I
of
had
giving.
no idea.
It's a way of
It's
giving back
revenue.
to
do
your
that all for
industry,
you, and you just have to turn up.
Oh,
But it's
no.
also if
It's very much a
Any
DIY
idea? Out
kind
the
of.
But unfortunately, some comedians run rooms and they have no idea what to do. They've been in the game for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it can.
Well,
it can-
understandably, because
yeah.
when you're good at that, it's really a lot like being a startup. Actually, a lot of
Yeah.
people go, "I know my stuff, so I'm going to go and set up my own business," and they forget that knowing that bit of it is not what it's about.
That's
it's
right.
about all
There's
the
a
rest
whole there's a whole lot of logistics that go with running a room.
of it. Yeah, right.
Basically, the basic needs are that you need to be seen and heard.
Yes.
So you need to have proper lighting. You need to have stage of some sort so that you're higher than the crowd. And
Amplification.
and good
Sound.
good mic sound, and you also need to know how to seat properly. Dave Grant, who is very big on that.
Seat properly.
You've got to know how to.
There's actually a strategy and a technique.
Well, I
around
mean,
seating.
it's
need
like
to be
ballet.
close, yeah.
You don't do ballet on a football field, or you don't do ballet in a cafe.
right.
You
Yeah.
understand that ballet is an art form, and it needs to be on a stage, proscenium march, audience lights, all the rest of it. Same with comedy. You can't just do it in a restaurant where people are eating and clanging
or where
knives
there's
and forks and
ice,
waiters delivering
cocktails being made in the background. So and sometimes you'll get gigs like this because I do a lot of touring.
Which I really want to get to your story in a second.
And you'll be at an RSL and you're just about to go on, and the dawn service announcement comes on for all the. And so you've got to time it. You've got to go, there's going to be an announcement.
So, Bev, I want you to tell us in 25 words or less, which I'm sure you can't do. No, I'm joking.
Impossible!
No, I want you to tell us how you go from having your first gig and then your first professional gig, which I guess was the second night you ever tried.
Well, not really.
All right. Into a 20-odd year career where you have never not done comedy. I mean, that is amazing. How'd you do it?
Friendship and family.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding there. I really think this is something that we all need to think about right now, especially. It pays to be nice and it pays to be kind.
It certainly does.
It pays to share. I was the matriarch of a house in St Kilda. I looked after everyone.
God, you would be such a good matriarch of a house.
All the street performers over from wherever they were in the world came to me.
Right.
So we used to cook together. We used to have costume box, and we'd all just put in. And people would make their props in my garage.
Right.
So I hardly paid any rent.
Right.
And if I needed to go out and do a gig, if I didn't have 5 gigs in a week,
Right.
I felt idle. So
Gotcha.
I would barter.
That
I would
is
barter.
great.
So all these things that are within me instinctually that have
Just
been
came
handed
out.
down from my parents.
Yep.
I bartered. So if I needed to go out for a gig, someone would stay home with my son Abel, and I'd go off to the gig. If I couldn't get a babysitter, I'd bring him as well. And a lot of the promoters, that were running rooms, would look after him, or a comedian would look after him for 5 minutes.
I wasn't 5 minutes. No.
Well, I only had 5 minutes spots, so.
And that's one of the reasons why I've got Bev in the book is you really speak to the reality of how do you manage.
A lot of people
I wanna know how you end
cannot
up.
for the life of them, and still I have women saying, "How did you do it?
Yeah.
How?"
So,
because a lot of people would have just gone, it's actually too
but I
hard.
wanna know-
That's
but
right.
I wanna know
Too hard
is-
basket.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Tell me about touring. Tell me about cruises. Tell me about other ways
Sure.
that you have expanded in order to make some decent money.
Sure. Well, they actually came to me. It wasn't me
Who's they?
begging. The producers.
The mysterious.
The mysterious,
you mean-
the mysterious ones, and I won't tell you who. They came to me. I have really good. I have exceptional management. They're like family to me.
Yeah.
And they're highly revered. That's A-list entertainment. If anyone wants to book me.
A-list entertainment.
A-list
Right, we've got that.
entertainment. Aaron Lang, he's my man.
Right. So did you sign that on with them? I don't know what you do. Did
I
you
signed
sign
on with them
early?
Around 10 years ago.
So the first 10 years were a struggle.
No.
10 years.
The first 10 years I had management as well.
Right.
I
But
know,
were you, and
but
so
they
were you
came
getting
to me.
decent money for your gigs at that stage, or were you still kind
Yes,
of?
no, it was only pub gigs and
Right,
pub gigs.
'cause
So it was around the 200, 150.
Since I went to your
You know,
first show, which I recken is about 10 or 15 years ago,
Was probably 10 years ago.
busting loose, busting
out.
Fantastic! It was so good. Anyway, that from that time on, you've really had quite a sort of slick professional career, I would think.
But I'm very lucky in the sense that I have great management.
Yeah.
So I don't talk money with anyone. Otherwise,
Right.
I'll just go, oh, don't worry
Nice.
about it.
Okay.
just bring some chops around. It's the barter in me. I'll do it for a dress. Beers, yeah, why not? I'll do
do it
20
for a
minutes.
dress.
So I'm under strict instructions
Right.
now that I do not talk money.
Well, that's a good tip, actually.
It
because if you're not
is.
comfortable talking about it,
Well, I am comfortable, but I'm just not very good at it.
So you're going, yeah, $25. If you give me a meal as well, and then going, no, she's at least.
But what I will do is if a friend has opened up a new room, just talk to me.
Okay,
and I
great.
can come
that's
down.
nice.
You know,
'Cause we've all got to give back.
well,
we've
we
all
do.
got to give back,
We do. We've got to
particularly-
give back. So yeah, I went from,
In the arts.
I suppose, doing. Women tend to MC more
Yes.
when they're. 20 years ago, it was MC. We weren't really headlining.
Right. Okay.
But a woman called Jane Sweetapple, who was running the Comedy Store at the time, I was travelling up and down there a
Right.
lot. Well, all the other comedians are concentrating on Melbourne. I'm like, I'm going to get on.
Where's
this.
the Comedy Store?
The Comedy Store is in Sydney.
Right,
And it's
okay.
legendary.
Right.
So I always
So
had
legendary that I haven't heard.
so legendary.
Yeah.
I'd always had this dream of playing there because it used to be on TV.
Oh, right.
Like Vince Sorrentian or Gary
Oh,
Who.
it's that, okay, yeah,
they
yeah,
were all
yeah.
on,
I feel like I
on
know
the television.
name. I just thought it was in Melbourne. Like,
So
the
I
joke
had
was
this
the Melbourne one.
dream
Yeah.
of getting there.
Right.
So a few of my hippie mates looked after Abel for a week, and I got on the Greyhound bus,
Good on you.
paid my $48, and I lobbed on a comedian's couch for a week because I can do it tough. I don't
Yeah.
care. And I got to the Comedy Store, and there's my name up in chalk. I couldn't believe it. Up in chalk. And I walked into
You know
the Comedy
you've hit
Store.
the big time when your name's on the board.
I can remember
reckon.
walking into the Comedy Store. This is when it was at the Clarence Hotel. Walked in, and there's all these black and white photos of stars, and I just burst into tears standing there with my little suitcase going, I'm here.
Oh my God, that is
Unbelievable.
so
I was
gorgeous.
so excited and
And
exhausted.
is this a paid gig by this stage, or
No,
you're just trying
no.
to get on the?
I just wanted
show?
I just wanted someone to see me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just had my 5 minutes under my belt at that stage. And there's Gary Eck, and there's Anthony Murr, and there's Anto, and
Big
they're all
names.
there, all there, and Adam Hills, they're all there, Pommy Johnson. And so I'm on the bill. I do my 5 minutes, and I didn't realise that Jane Sweetapple was sitting up the back.
Right.
Now, here's another funny thing that used to happen.
What?
If you went over your 5 minutes, you get a light, right? Which still happens. But this one at the Comedy Store was Lenny Bruce's photograph, and his eyes would light up red.
That's so good.
Like bing, 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 bing.
That is
like
so
this.
good.
So I did my 5 minutes. Jane Sweetapple came down from her console and went, "Where have you been? Who are you?"
Oh my God, you were discovered.
Yeah. Who the hell are you?
Oh.
Julia Morris was working there at the time. There was a few other women that were coming up or had been around for a bit.
Is that not the dream though?
I
would think that would be
know.
the dream of anybody who's in anything to
Unbelievable.
do with the arts, that someone goes, "Where have you been?
I
I found you." And
know.
someone with influence.
She said, it was pretty much those words. "Where have you been? I found you. Can you please go back to Melbourne, get 20 minutes together and come back? I want you to MC." So this is within my first 18 months. So I did, and I was one of the very few comedians that she would look after. So I'd stay at her flat upstairs. Everyone was
In a
jealous.
bed? Did you was still on the sofa, or had you?
No, I had my own
graduated?
bedroom.
Oh my goodness!
So can
Oh,
you imagine all the
you're
jealous
talking luck
comedians? Talk about nose out of joint. Where have you been? Oh, just emceeing at the Comedy
I
Store.
just started. And
Yeah,
I started
just
emceeing
started,
on stage,
started
James'
emceeing.
place.
You know. So, but it again, it pays to be nice. It pays to be friendly. It pays to be there at the beginning for some people who are starting ventures, and then they do look after you in the end. It's reciprocal. So I ended up becoming one of the main headliners at the Comedy Store.
And now I know you do cruises, those comedy
I
cruises.
do those
So how did that
cruises
come
on the
about?
back of becoming a headliner.
Right, so and that, because I've seen you on the project and a few things like
Yeah,
that now too.
yeah.
And
So
Coles
once
ads.
you become a headliner, don't
Okay.
don't promote Coles.
Okay, no, I won't. Not in the toilet paper drought.
So what happens is, and Joanne knows how this works, you work up your minutes, so it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Headliners now need to have 45 to an hour, which I do. I've got loads of material now. So
With
once
Netflix, you
yeah.
need her on there doing one of those shows.
Once you reach that level, then you're sought after. Then you can headline anywhere.
Right,
So
because
then
they
you-
don't need other comedians, they can have you as
That's
doing
right.
a whole show.
That's right.
Okay.
With an MC.
Yeah.
So once you've got that status and people, you've got that branding from everyone, from all the clubs and pubs and producers and promoters out there, and you've got good management, you're home and hosed.
Right.
So I'm very much known on the circuit. I doubt many people would know who I am out there. I'm a live stand-up.
Yeah.
I'm very well known on the live circuit.
Yes.
And my hit rate is very good.
What does
So
that
that's
mean?
another thing
What's a
that you
hit
need
rate?
to consider.
Your jokes.
I get a lot of applause.
Is there someone there with like a little clicker going,
No,
we're going to click every
no.
time and laugh? So
Well,
is it almost
there is
like
a
that?
laugh per minute rate, and I've got a very high laugh per minute rate.
Sarah Bonetto, in my book, talks about they do that
Laugh
in
per
the
minute,
UK.
LPMs.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you get your LPMs up, and basically, if you've got an audience, that can sit there for 45 minutes still listening, and you get an ovation at the end, or applause breaks, and an encore, you're highly
They know
high.
that
And this does happen to me. I'm not lying.
Right.
So when the cruises started to become a real thing, Kelly Jamola, who produces those shows and sit-down comedy, went, this is who we need.
Perfect.
We need someone who is an every woman that can
make everyone laugh, which you
because
do.
a lot of people cruising have never been to a live stand-up show.
Right. Okay, so look, we're just going to go to a break. After the break, we'll come back, and what I'm really interested in is let's talk about coronavirus. Let's talk about ways that
Can't wait.
No, but like it's such a massive thing. Let's
It
talk
is,
about
it is.
ways that people can continue to have a career
That's right,
during this
yeah.
break, because it is a really panicky time for a lot of people.
is.
So we're going to give you lots of good news when you come back. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
From Ticker, you're watching She's the Boss. Here's Jules Brooke.
Hi and welcome back to She's the Boss. Today we are talking with Joanne Brookfield and the gorgeous Bev Killick, both of whom are stand-up comedians. And now what's happening with coronavirus and the fact that this week everyone has been told to isolate, and it looks like it's going to get more and more, or that's going to happen more and more. I think it would be interesting for us to talk about how people might be able to survive, ideally online, but there may be other ideas people have got, for what's happening now, and also a bit of what you've learned along the way, because some of that will probably inform what you're going to say. So let's start with you, Joanne.
Well, this Sunday, my cover story in the Sunday Age M magazine is coming out, and every year I write a comedy festival
cover stories for the Age.
based story, and of course, unfortunately, when the festival is cancelled, that means all the stories about everybody's shows
been
gets
cancelled. I mean,
gets
people
cancelled.
are panicking all over the place.
So we sort of, as a last minute thing, we thought, well, what can we do? And we thought, we'll do the comedy festival at home. So on Sunday, my piece is coming out about basically how every day of what would have been the comedy festival, you can access someone else's comedy online or
so people are
in
going
other
to
ways.
do it like in their I mean, I know that I've noticed, and I know it might be just showing what I watch, but I saw Keith Urban and did a concert in his lounge room or something.
Exactly.
I've seen other people doing it, so really turn on Zoom and off you go. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, there's obviously all kinds of ways. Like Bev's got one of her stand-up specials on.
Yeah, we'll hear about that
that you can
minute.
download. And
It's all about you for a minute. Come on, Joanne.
and
We'll
you
give her
know, obviously
stage
there's
music.
Netflix and Stan and Amazon Prime has got a bunch of stand-up specials about to drop sort of in a couple of weeks' time.
So
with
did they sort of time that to go with when the festival was supposed to happen?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's sort of,
great.
it's nicely timed
And
in
are
that
they
sense.
Australian?
Yes, so
Yes.
there are people
Okay,
like
good.
Zoe Coombsmar and Judith Lucy and people like that.
Great,
So,
great.
Yep. So So all that kind of stuff. But then obviously the great thing about the internet is that comedians can, be doing stuff and uploading it to YouTube or to Instagram. So there's comedians doing stuff to Instagram Live, people are recording sketches, people are getting their YouTube channels up to speed, people are, blogging and writing and all the rest of it. So there's all these kinds of ways that people can actually still support comedians, and that's something.
But the big question is, how do we financially support them? That's where I'm really interested.
Well, I guess one of the best ways to financially support comedians is
to them.
Well, you can.
Or is that what you were going to say?
Well, you can, because there's two options. Because obviously, a lot of people have already bought tickets for comedy festival shows. Now, there's two options there. The comedy festival will give you a full refund if that's what you require, and we understand that lots of people are doing it tough. It's not just the arts sector that are suffering right now. But if you are in a position where that $25, $35 ticket is not going to break the bank, you have the option of being able to donate that to the artist, or you can go to any of the individual show pages, and each individual show has a donate button, and you can donate in increments of $5. So you might
This is the first time I've heard this.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
great.
So for instance, I was going to do No Apologies, the chat show, which was going to be similar to this kind of thing, having women in comedy on,
and part of.
Yes, and having a chat. Well, Bev did the first one last year. She was my inaugural guest, one of the inaugural guests at the Malt House.
Can't we still do it in a studio?
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
We will. The show will go on at some point.
I think the other thing that's going to happen with this is not only people providing content online, but there are going to be hundreds of thousands of people sitting at home who've got 3 hours that they usually commute in the morning and the afternoon that's going to be extra time.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to be given lots of work at first, and everyone will be very industrious, and then having worked at home myself for about the last 15 years, I know that you start to change your hours to the way that suits you.
Yeah.
So if you do want to work through the night when the kids are asleep and maybe watch some stuff during the day, you can. So I think there's huge opportunities that are coming with this for people to build up profile, to build up audience numbers online, which is going to do them loads and loads of good.
Well, that's actually really important. If you can't afford to make a small contribution, you could just go, I've got $100, I'm going to pick 20 different comedians and give them all $5 each or whatever, or you could just go, I'm going to pick 20 comedians and like their Instagram, like their YouTube channel, like their Facebook page.
What I'm interested in is whether people will start charging for us to be able to see it, because you can put a paywall on a Zoom call or whatever and say, okay, pay $9.95.
I would think
$5.
that will emerge as a new model.
It's going to happen
because at the moment
you can't just give it away for free.
That's right.
No, well, that's right, and I think we're all used to paying for Netflix. We're used to paying for whatever.
Right.
So for us to stream a live show, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all.
No.
So I guess it's now just a matter
of technology.
That's
stuff
right, because so many of us are used to working in that live capacity.
Yeah.
So we know how to produce shows in a live capacity. Now it's like, okay, how do we get the cameras, the studio, the lights, the person behind the scenes?
That's right.
So there's just a bit of catch up some of us have to do in terms of
for the ones
figuring that out.
Like, I thought no one is going to buy my Comedy Store special for 2014.
What was it?
It's called Bev Killick Goes There. But it's my old gold. It's my old gold.
Right.
And I'm thinking in 2020, it's so
no, but funny
in the distant past.
I watched Richard Pryor and people from 80 years ago.
So and you can see, if you do buy it, you can see that I've had a few wines.
Oh, I love that. I love
that one like you, Bev.
I get a little slurry. I get a little bit slurry, and my manager Artie Lang at the time is in the background, is in the side wing, is going,
yo, stop it. And you go,
I'll just say we're all professionals. That's why we're here drinking.
We're professionals.
Yeah. Cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Cheers, darling. Whoops. I think your microphone just went flying.
That's how professional we are.
Sorry, my microphone's just
Now, I don't know how we can share your microphone, actually. But while we're doing that, it's all right, we can hear you. So
obviously you can pay to view Bev's special, and there's obviously one of the best ways I think is to deal directly with the artist. Go to their Facebook or Instagram page, because they'll tell you what is best for them. They might say, please just make a donation through the Comedy Festival website. They might say, please buy my book, which you can order from Joanne Brookfield Comedy at gmail.com. They might say,
The other thing though that I think people should be doing who are at home is going to their bosses and going to the large organisations that they're part of and saying, we were going to have this fun night at whatever, how about you go and employ some comedians or some singers or some actors and do it as a streaming thing? We'll know it's for us. We can have the bosses in there. People could be talking, and make it so that people are getting paid.
That's
my
really
big thing.
that's really
That's my
important
big
because I
thing
mean
that
I've lost a heap of corporate gigs, and I've just really recently got into the corporate sector because a lot of people didn't believe that I could actually be a corporate comedian. Because I am known for
because
being a
people in
little
corporate
bit
land don't like to laugh at funny, rude things, do
no,
they?
No, they mind their P's and Q's. I just look at them like they're just dressed up for the night.
Of course
just,
they are.
You know. Anyway.
And also things that you can say that would...
My last corporate that I did was for Articolo Glass.
Right, a glass company.
Sorry. And I went as a hoax character, pretended I was a Polish glass blower. It was fantastic. I was one of the last to leave. But
From your own show, I'm so
surprised. I said jokingly to them, because all their staff were just loving what I'd done, that I'll come in and we'll do some bingo, or I'll put on some karaoke, or I'll just come into the office and when you least expect me and just have some fun. Well, they've gone back to my management and said, yes.
We'll do that.
We'll do that.
Awesome.
So,
Yes.
hire a comedian.
That's
okay,
right,
you might not
I
get a
would agree.
20-minute set or a 50-minute set or whatever, but we can come up and cheer your office. If you've only got 25 in the office, hire us.
Oh, absolutely.
We can come in and because the
Now-
world needs comedy right now.
It does?
We're all being leveled right now. This kind of thing is the great leveler. There is no status.
That's right.
There is no status. So if you need a comedian, or you need a speaker, or it's a need.
Or you need a TV presenter, then...
We can still work. You can come to my lounge room.
Of course.
One of my income streams at the moment, and I set this up a little while ago, because people like Joanne were pushing me to do so, is to mentor and coach comedians.
Yeah, great. So that's
Because
another great thing. And you could offer that to a lot of people who don't want to turn it into a career, but just want to know how to do it, even to do funny jokes if you're standing on a stage and you're a manager or something.
That's right, it really comes in
So,
handy.
yeah, it does.
Because if you're writing a speech, I mean, just think Paul Keating, the most
I've done
renowned writing of speeches, has the gags.
It always does, and in fact, I've done quite a lot of sort of speaking kind of courses. Well, not quite a lot, but I've done a couple because I get on stage and talk about PR and stuff. And the biggest thing they say is learn something that'll make people laugh. Like, start working on your gags.
Get a gag writer. I've got all these little shadow industries. I'm a bit of a
all-rounder.
I'm a bit of an all-rounder. So I've got some mad skills that people will only just discover because
because of this.
Because of this. I'm an excellent cook.
Right.
I'm an excellent cleaner.
Yep.
I have got great knowledge
Cleaning
about
skills can be very handy.
Anything esoteric, holistic health. This is just from being
Mental
hippie.
health.
Hippie, mental health. I'm an advocate. A few of my family members suffer from mental health, so I know what to do as a first responder. I have first aid skills.
So the answer is start thinking but also start thinking for the people out there, start thinking about the other things that you're good at.
You can do.
You know, you don't actually, I mean, I know that we all have kind of a career that we follow, but a lot of us have a lot of other things outside that you might be good at, and you can monetize that.
Because, I mean, like Joanne and I, we have multiple skills. So I'm a comedian foremost because I'm known
Well, that's your passion.
it's my passion, absolutely.
And it's what's led the rest of your career by the sounds of it as well.
Cannot go without a stand-up gig. So you need to book me.
Or she's going to go into
I can't go for more than a week. And if I am away somewhere on holiday, I will still perform.
Yeah.
I will find a way.
Cannot
also
help us.
have
Standing on the table in the pub is just as good as anything else.
That's right. I'm just going to get my moment. I'm going to have my moment. But I also have skills in voiceover, as you can tell by my beautiful voice. I can also do character voices. So
there's lots of different things.
I've done a lot of character voices for cartoons, animation. I also have cooking skills. I mentioned that already.
Yeah.
But I also have mad skills in buying, selling, and
yes, that's right. I see you on social media. So I'm going to wind you up.
Yeah.
What I would really like, because we haven't got much longer, would be to just offer, and we'll do them one at a time, maybe 3 things that you could think of, or a couple of things you could think of that you could say to someone who might be thinking about either doing this as a hobby or a way of turning this into their career. What would be the first couple of things you'd say to them?
I would say, okay, so the first thing, if you want to try, just do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't. Like, I know that sounds
So you
kind
say
of
go to an
simplistic.
open mic night or
Go to
something,
a
watch
few
other
open mic
people
nights,
and
get a
jump up.
sense of how it works, write some material, practice your material.
So you have to write it first? Does anyone ever do it off the cuff?
You can, but you're not going to
It
go
doesn't
well.
sound good.
I
Okay.
mean, when you've had 20 years of experience, Bev could jump up now and without anything prepared because she's got 20 years of material
Yeah.
in her pocket. She knows how to be quick
But
on her
if you're
feet.
new,
If you've never done it
prepare.
before, you write your
Do people
material
freeze?
first. Of
Does
course,
that happen a lot of the time?
you know,
Your brain doesn't compute.
but that's all part of it too, you know.
Yeah.
And also too, you know, if you
Getting
are
comfortable.
naturally funny, you'll find a way to sort of
Turn that
fudge
into a
that
bit of a laugh.
and whatever. I guess in terms of turning it into a business, take it seriously. You know, you've got
I
to.
would say
you've-
maybe even do a business course.
Exactly.
Would be a really
And-
good thing
and-
for people to
Speaking
do.
about that, I was. This is a little claim to fame. I was the first group of the Nice.
Oh,
program.
right.
The
The
NEAT
first.
program, so
I
that's
was
right.
part of the
So
very
Chris-
first.
Right.
No, that's actually really relevant. So for those people that are very worried about their jobs, that maybe are going to be out of work
schemes.
and are going to be going to the CES, think about an EAST course. It is a course. What does it stand for? National
Enterprise
Innovation
Incentive
Ent-
Scheme.
Right, so what it does is basically they will help you see whether there is a business in your idea, and then they'll help you work out how to set it up and get started. So it's actually a really great thing to do. So back to Joanne.
Sorry.
Shut up. But no one's ever said that to you before.
But it is that thing, I mean-
But anyway,
I love it. It's the first right here today.
go on.
But it is that thing that, like, it looks like it's kind of this casual, kind of boozy thing when you're just doing gigs late at night. in
Yeah,
clubs
that's right.
And all the rest of it. But it's a serious
slick.
thing. It's a business. So be professional. Show up to your meetings on time. You know.
Yeah, actually, that's a very
respond
good
to your
point.
emails.
Don't be
be
flaky, 'cause
courteous.
otherwise people can't
all
rely on
those
you.
kinds of things. And a third piece of advice in terms of comedy.
Or journalism or writing a book. I'd say write a book. I'd say one of the things that I think at this time, for all the, and I come across loads of people that talk about, I'd really love to write a book, but I can never find the time. Now is the time.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sure, you know, they say there's going to be a lot of babies born out of this. I
It's
think
like
there
the
may also
opposite
be a
of
lot of
Fahrenheit
books come out of this.
451. Fahrenheit 451 was a book written by Ray Bradbury, which was all about technology taking over to the point where we don't read books anymore. I think it's turned on its
Yeah,
head.
I agree. So we've only got another minute. Sorry to cut you short. Have you got a tip for people or a couple of tips for people
Absolutely. It's like if you are thinking about being a stand-up comedian or a performer right now, then now's the time
Yeah.
to gather all your
Yeah.
information. I've got room for probably 5 more to mentor. I'm mentoring.
Oh, you mentor people as well. Great. Okay,
I'm mentoring
so
4 at the moment, and I can honestly say that two
your
of
capacity is going to...
2 of those people are doing it extremely well.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
And I do it on an individual basis, so
Okay,
you know
great.
it's all aligned to that particular person.
Fantastic.
So I can give you information that I've learned along the way that you don't have to.
Great. Thank you both so much for coming on the show.
Thank
I
you,
realise
Jules.
I haven't
Thank you.
also done a shout out to my sponsor.
Yes,
Which
do it
is
now.
Havana Home, and they make the most delicious smelling candles and things. We have Joanne. I was just going to say to Joanne, how can people can get in contact with you?
I'm actually-
But actually, you just want them to buy your book, obviously.
I'm selling copies directly, signed copies directly
Where do
through
people-
my
Yeah.
mailing list, which is joannebrookfieldcomedy@gmail.com. $35
Okay, but have you got a
includes
website
postage.
people can go to as well?
That's my handle on Instagram and Facebook, Joanne
Okay,
Brookfield Comedy.
Joanne
So
Brookfield,
find me there. And
look for her. And Bev, how can people contact you to
I'm
book
with
you?
A-List Entertainment. I can do small
A-List
gatherings,
Entertainment.
And I also
She'll do almost
mentor.
anything, I would say.
I also mentor, and I'm just about to start a podcast. So
Oh, amazing.
yeah.
and Bev's in the book.
Well, there you
I have a
go.
book.
Look, talk about 2 dynamic women that are doing all sorts of things. Hopefully you've got some inspiration and a few laughs out of today. I really hope that you'll be back next week. And thank you very much for watching She's the Boss.
This is Ticker, your new source for news.